video is some film from our final event from I Feel the Need to Read. This was the Dr. Seuss themed literacy festival where we took the 250 second grade students that we reached out to in the area of our high school, Freedom High School, and brought them to our school for a day full of literacy activities, a lot of which put them in motion because studies show that children who are learning while in motion are more likely to retain what they're learning. And after our literacy activities or field activities, we were basically celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday, which was March 2nd. And so you can't celebrate a birthday without birthday cake and singing happy birthday. So we did that, and then we had our cheerleading squad do a tumble routine and lead the children in I Feel the Need to Read chant. We finished the day by bringing the kids into the auditorium, and we had a read aloud of Other Places You'll Go and a recital of the National Education Association's Reader's Oath. And then finally, the cheerleaders all ran in with gift bags of books and school supplies. So now that I've summarized the video, basically thinking of all of this, and if you were to watch it, you would think, oh, this is the capstone of hundreds of hours volunteered outside the classroom, over 800 books donated, 310 cat in a hat hats, 250 slices of birthday cake, over 70 volunteers, and the list goes on and on and on. But really for me, it meant a lot more. So let me take you back 21 years to early 1991, down in Bradenton, Florida, where my mom was a junior in high school. She did well in school and was on the path to earn a scholarship for diving to a university. And this all changed around late January when she found out that she was pregnant with me. And I can't attest to the feelings or the emotions that went through her head when she learned this, but I can say she must not have got psyched out too much because she continued her studies and she finished her graduation requirements that summer. That same summer, my dad and my mom were married. They found a place of their own, and my dad worked during the day and my mom stayed with me. Their marriage only lasted about a year, but I think, in fact, considering their modest age of 17, 18, a lot can be said for giving it a shot. So right after they split up, my mom and I moved to Tallahassee, where she enrolled at Florida State University, pursuing a degree in criminology. She wanted to become an investigator. And those next few years were the most challenging for her life, I would venture to say. She had to juggle mothering, holding down several jobs, and studying for a full course load. Sometimes things were tough. We had to rely on food stamps sometimes, but there was never a meal that I missed, and I was always blissfully unaware of our financial means. But I remember when I think back of my mom working, sometimes I would go with her to work. I remember her with her nose in the books in the evening. So let's jump ahead 3 years. I'm entering second grade, and my mom just landed a job as an investigator in Tampa. And she brought me down early before we actually moved, and she's showing me the neighborhood, and she's driving by our elementary school. And I remember specifically driving in front of my elementary school and her pointing out the marquee out front that said Blue Ribbon School. And I didn't know what that meant, but I remember her enthusiasm in telling me this is a really good school district. And that was a theme throughout my life. My mom always found the best school districts to where I could go to school because my education was of the utmost importance. So now let's jump ahead 10 years. I'm a junior in high school. It's the spring, and my assistant principal for curriculum, Miss Rosemary Owens, and I were fortunate enough to be selected for the Bezos Scholarship Program, which brought us to the Aspen Ideas Festival the next summer, for what ended up being the most inspirational and incredible 7 days of my entire life. throughout the week, we attended various interviews, lectures, and panel discussions on a variety of topics. And I remember that at some point in every single discussion, whether it was a question asked by the moderator or the speakers brought it up in one of their responses, education was related to the topic at hand. And it was often cited as the source and solution for a lot of the most pressing issues of our time. The economic crisis, the source for renewable energy, dealing with universal health care. So at this point in time, it clicked, or at least it started to. So coming off of Aspen, I was thinking about a lot, and I was inspired, and I wanted to do something about education. I learned all of this, and I couldn't just come off of this experience and not want to do anything. And so with the support of the program and my assistant principal, we moved forward in trying to figure out what we could do. And serendipitously, I found out about a program that engaged high school and college students in the Worst to First movement, which is the initiative to bring Florida's public schools from worst, or 49th, to first. And after learning about this, I knew I wanted to do something with education. So I went back eager with some weight off my shoulders for now deciding that I wanted to do this. And going and talking to Mrs. Owens and telling her my idea, and she was excited because she works in education, so naturally she has a passion for it. But she told me I needed to narrow my focus. I couldn't just focus on education. It's such a general topic. So shortly afterward, I remember going on a walk with my mom and brainstorming some ideas of what specifically I could do. And I remember talking about math and science and how there's a lot of support for math and science, at least in our area. And so we eventually got to reading. And it didn't seem like there were as many resources for reading, at least visible to me. And it was something that I could personally connect to, because when I moved to Tampa in second grade, I was placed below level in reading. But with the help of my parents and my teachers, I was able to read on level by the end of the year. And so literacy really stood out by the end of our walk, and I went and met with Mrs. Owens again and told her my new, more narrowed idea, and she loved it. And we, from that point on, started moving forward in the planning process. And so we got a club together with high school students. We told our faculty, who was in full support of everything, and we started coming up with ideas for what exactly we wanted to do. And so there were several reasons why we chose literacy and why we shaped the program as we did. And to be literate, I feel, is to have command of the language. It's to excel in other subjects, to be an informed citizen, and to have control over your own education. Once you're literate, you have the capacity to read what you want and basically educate yourself. So this kind of seemed like the foundation for helping one's education. We also did research for our community and found out that 35% of students entering third grade were unprepared to read in Hillsborough County. Also, 98% of a child's cognitive ability is acquired before the age of 8. And students living in homes living at or below the poverty level are less likely to be read aloud to than those living above the poverty level. So at the end of that, we decided that we wanted to focus on second grade and schools with the most need. And so that would be Title I elementary schools, which are with 40% of student bodies qualifying, 40% or more qualifying for free and reduced lunch. So we came up with phases. We brainstormed at our club meetings. Mrs. Owens and I would meet every single day during the school day, and we eventually came up with 4 phases. We would do a book drive, so we could actually provide these kids that don't have these resources with books. And we had elementary school visits where we went to the elementary schools, and our volunteers did read aloud activities, and then gave them books. And specifically in my classroom, when we went and presented the kids with this gift wrap box of books, we started handing them out, and the kids had the hardest time accepting that the books were actually going to be theirs. And I remember telling them that these are your books, and they're like, wait, there are books? And then they would try and give them back to us at the end of our visit, and we're like, no, they're really, you can keep them. And so this really put into perspective the need, and it was even more motivating to move forward in the process. And so, you may be wondering, why am I telling you all this? It's an inspirational story. We've heard a lot of inspirational stories today. But in theme with the Love It, Do It of this event, I want to kind of relate it back to that. And in high school, I remember a push for finding your passion. What is it that you're most passionate about? And I definitely tried that by getting involved in various things. But I think what it comes down to is you have to think about what makes you tick. What makes your heart skip a beat? For a second, I want you guys to take a second and think about the last time you got so excited to do something that you started working on it immediately. The last time you were willing to forego sleep to move towards that vision. For me, that was education. The circumstances in and around my childhood largely affected who I am today and colored my world. Watching my mom juggle parenting, studying, and working helped me develop a respect for education. As a respect which soon developed into an appreciation for education. Appreciation because education is accessibility. Education leads to us having control over what we possess in this world. So, a job, a car, money. But education is more than success in academics and a career. Education should be embraced and loved, and people should realize that it is what it makes each of us unique. It is what makes us human. Each of our educational experiences is different. It is more than cognitive development, it is social development. Our ability to communicate, interact, understand, and empathize with other people is a part of our education. Just being aware of those and that around you, I find, leads to connections and contentment. So in other words, my mom planted the seeds that grew into my passion for education. And what I learned in the process is to use experience, find meaning, and follow passion.